Hi, welcome to the BoshNRoll channel. I'm your host, Brian Koval. Before we get started, make sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons. If you want to see me play your favorite deck or your spicy brew on the channel, I take donation deck lists. I'll do a deck tech, play a full Magic Online League, and help tune your list. If that sounds good, check out my contact info. It's in the video description below. Now let's go play some Magic.
Welcome back once again to the BoshNRoll channel. Today I'm playing Legacy, and this is at the request of Patreon subscriber Jeremy. I am updating Blue-White Sharkstill, my pet deck, for Modern Horizons 2. If you want me to play decks for you or get in the conversation on the channel Discord, check out the link to my Patreon in the video description below. So, as I said, this is my pet deck. I've been working on it since Shark Typhoon was spoiled in Ikoria, which happened in early 2020. It's now the middle of 2021. So this is a full year in the making. I think this deck is pretty sweet. I don't know if it's competitive right now. Modern Horizons 2 shook up a bunch of stuff, but Shark Typhoon and Standstill is a powerful interaction. If you're not familiar, Standstill. When a player casts a spell, sacrifice Standstill. If you do, each of that player's opponents draws 3. So this is a disincentive to cast any spells. Shark Typhoon, you can cycle it to make an XX flying shark token. Cycling is not a spell, so you have a way to deploy creatures while your opponent doesn't under Standstill. So then they have the choice of get beat down by sharks or let you draw a bunch of cards. And Modern Horizons 2 just added another way to make creatures under Standstill to the format in Urza's Saga. So Urza Saga, it is a saga, so every turn it gains a lore counter, and after it, the third one's trigger resolves, you sacrifice it. So when it comes into play, it gains the ability to tap for 1. When on the second turn it's in play, it gains 2 tap, create a 0/0 colorless construct artifact creature token, and the third chapter is search your library for an artifact card that costs 0 or 1. And that's important. It has to cost exactly 0 colorless mana or exactly 1 colorless mana. It doesn't have a mana value of 0. Like, I can't just put a Seat of the Synod in this deck and go get it with this. It does have to cost 1 or 0. So this card, the Create Construct ability, is a way to put pressure into play under a Standstill, which is the main appeal of trying it. The third ability, I think, is kind of a drawback for this deck. We'll see how it plays out in practice, but deck space was pretty tight. But I can't just have nothing to tutor for on Chapter 3. So I put 1 Pithing Needle in the main deck. This was in the sideboard anyway, so this isn't really lost deck space. It's just had to rearrange some things. And then Retrofitter Foundry is my other 1-drop. You want 2 just in case you draw one of them, and Retrofitter Foundry is a way to dump a bunch of mana into making more creatures while Standstill is in play. So this is a 1 mana, pay 3, untap it, pay 2, tap, make a servo, 1/1 servo, 1 tap, sack a servo, make a 1/1 flying thopter, and tap, sack a thopter, create a construct. This is a pretty strong value engine in any sort of stalled board, and all Sharkstill is trying to do is stall the board. So Saga creates 2 constructs before tutoring up a way to make more servos and thopters, and this is also a continuous source of artifacts to grow your constructs from Urza Saga. But on top of all of those synergies with Standstill, Urza Saga is a land that sacrifices itself, and this deck already plays Crucible of Worlds for Wasteland and Fetch lands. Urza Saga is also an enchantment, and this deck already plays Hall of Heliod's Generosity, and I returned Replenish to the list. It was out of the last build, but I do want to try it. The idea of chucking all my Urza Sagas and Shark Typhoons back into play in the late game is extremely appealing to me. So Replenish has returned to the list on a trial basis. But Hall of Heliod's Generosity, you could pay 1 white, tap this, put target enchantment card from your graveyard on top of your library. Ding ding, Urza Saga. So now on top of the Shark Typhoon, we have 2 sagas and lots of ways to combo with Hall of Heliod's Generosity to generate creature after creature under Standstill. The rest of this deck is just trying to stay alive long enough to do those things. Swords to Plowshares, Brainstorm, Ponder, Flusterstorm, Snapcaster to do all that again. One Brazen Borrower. This used to be more, but Prismatic Ending from Modern Horizons 2. This one is also in the deck on a trial basis. This card, it does what Path to Exile does, but better in a lot of cases. I had Path to Exile even in the most recent build of this deck, but Prismatic Ending, I think, is the death knell of Path to Exile and Legacy. But Prismatic Ending exiles Ragavan, exiles Delver, exiles Dragon Rage Channeler, whatever, 1 mana, no questions asked. At 2 mana, you get rid of Sylvan Library, Tarmogoyf, etc. And I added 1 Volcanic Island to the deck just so we can get up to exiling Klothys and Uro. Klothys was the one that was specifically in mind when I added the Volcanic Island to the deck, because that card is a problem and my deck's really slow and doesn't have a lot of answers to a card like that. But surprise, Prismatic Ending just gets it all. Chalice of the Void, Trinisphere, all those things are just gone. Sphere of Resistance, Thalia, Guardian of Thraben. I'm just going to name every permanent in Magic while we're sitting here, so I'm just going to stop. But it exiles all of those things. Very resilient removal for a deck like this, which all this deck wants is flexible answers, so it can survive long enough to set up its engine. And those are the upgrades from Modern Horizons 2. Urza Saga is the big test here. The rest of this shell we're pretty familiar with at this point. Prismatic Ending, we're going to test how good this is in a primarily 2-color deck and how many times we get this Volcanic Island wastelanded because it's not a basic island versus how many times we cast Ending for 3. That's going to be something I'm looking for. But like I said, primarily this is a test run of Urza Saga in my Standstill shell. So let's go try it out. I'm on the draw in round number 1. With this reasonable hand, it has Force Brainstorm and 3 lands. 2 of them are basic, so I'm in. Got a Polluted Delta on the other side. Someone recently joked that every time I see Polluted Delta, I think I'm playing against Doomsday. This time I think I'm playing against Death Shadow. Ooh, a Revoking Grief. So this could be... I'm probably getting reanimated here. Which, I mean, I'm just going to let this resolve. They take Force of Will with the Grief, then they reanimate it and take another card. If I force the Grief, it's still in the graveyard for reanimate, and then I would lose 3 cards. The Force, the blue card, and the card that they get when reanimate comes back, instead of just Force and Brainstorm. I would lose Force, Brainstorm, and Shark Typhoon. Unless they just don't have reanimate, which would be great, but seems unlikely. Okay, so they sort of just hung me out into days here, but I'm gonna go for it. They may have played this perfectly, but if they bring back, yeah, like Crucible of Worlds wasn't gonna be what this game's about anyway, and they were gonna bring back the Grief, take the Shark Typhoon, and then I still have to play around Brainstorm, or play around Days the rest of the game. I would prefer just committing to, you don't have your Days, I don't have your Crucible, let's play to drawing a Swords to Plowshares, and then that's where the whole game is. So Grief gets to attack. That's a pretty strong start. They did pitch a Death Shadow to make it happen though, so it's not free. Retrofitter Foundry, not a bad card here. I'll certainly put it into play anyway. The next turn, Shark Typhoon can block Delver. Whether I get a trade or just a chump depends on what happens the next couple turns. They drew a Snuff out. Alright, so that'll help push damage through the Shark Typhoon. But my deck does have a lot of removal in it. Gotta find some of it. Ooh. Wasteland does not actually help. They've missed a bunch of land drops. So if they snuff out, they go to 7. I go to 4. I'm thinking if they snuff out my shark. Alright, snuff out is destroy target non-black creature. So they can destroy a servo the same as a shark. That's all the same to them. If I wasteland, I just also lose my shark. Or I lose my shot at drawing an extra card. Like, drawing the card off Shark Typhoon is going to be worth something to me. And they don't know about the Typhoon. If they've been sandbagging a Wasteland, they're going to do some damage here. It sucks that when I fetch, I end up becoming dead on board for next turn. Like, that's the 1 point to make it or dead to one creature. So I was already dead to both. See if they let me block. Oh, they let me block. Cool. Alright, time to draw Supreme Verdict. I play a lot of them. It's the hallmark of this deck. Verdict. It Swords to Plowshares. I've seen worse. I'm going to Wasteland them. And then I'm going to Swords to Plowshares Delver. Make a Servo. Go to 3. I'm going to do this now before they draw a land. If they have Force of Will, I lose anyway. Alright, yeah, you got me. Okay, Grief has Menace, by the way, which is why Retrofitter Foundry doesn't save me here. Yeah, that was a really explosive start with the Grief Reanimate. Nice one. So, what comes in for this matchup? I don't really want Force of Will. I don't actually have a lot of sideboard for this matchup because it's already a matchup that my main deck is pretty strong against. And Containment Priest can check the reanimation, I guess. And it's also just a body. Like, if they get fast and loose with their life total, I could jump in there and punish. Is Test of Talent something I want? They might have Hymn to Tarax after board, so maybe. Probably. What is less important for this matchup? I don't love Force of Will, but it's not the worst card I've ever seen either. I think Replenish. This game is going to be about small ball. Like, they're going to get up under me or they're not. Like, I don't think I'm going to need a late game banger to get crazy with. I'm trying to lower my curve, not resolve 4 mana sorceries that require a lot of setup. Back to basics. They don't play any basic lands. They might have like one, but this, like I said, I'm going to win this game or I'm not based on what pressure they can keep in play. I'm not really worried about locking out their lands. So I brought in some cheaper counter spells and some interactive threats, and that's what I've got here. I think this is as good as it's going to get. I shaved a Standstill because they are a deck with 1 mana threats. Like, if I keep a hand with Standstill in it and they're just like Delve or Go, that's not good for me. Alright, this is a keep. This is the hand that I wanted last game. Against Death Shadow, you just want all your white cards early and often. I'm going to play the Prismatic Vista because if they do some crazy grief stuff again, I would like to be able to brainstorm in response. Alright, just a Ponder. I'll take that. I'm going to save the Urza Saga for probably as late as possible because it is a land that sacrifices itself. Like, the clock is ticking as soon as you play this thing on how long it has in play, and it basically locks me into if I play it on turn 2, I have to activate it on turn 3 and activate it on turn 4 to get any value out of it, and that's not always necessarily gonna be good. I'm gonna Ponder here. I made my land drop first because I don't want my cantrips getting dazed. Time for a Ponder. Then I can brainstorm this Retrofitter Foundry back in the deck before Saga pops, whenever that happens. This is a shuffle. I just want lands. And while Crucible is technically a land, maybe I just play the Retrofitter Foundry. No, I'm just going to play around days. Like, Crucible, I'm untapping into my 3rd mana source. I could jam Crucible and have land drops for the rest of the game, but if they have days, then I'm sort of locked. It's just, that would have been a risky play when my deck has 22 lands in it, which is basically infinite for a legacy deck. The Brainstorm Shuffle interaction, powerful interaction, courtesy of the legacy format. So they're griefing me. I'm just gonna plow it now. Yeah, I don't need that to be reanimated. So they got their 2 for 2, but I kept Reanimate off, and they pitched a Death Shadow to make this happen. I'll be interested if they take Ending or Brainstorm. They took Teferi. Alright. So they must not have days. Or else they just don't care about that 3-drop at all. They may also have Wasteland. Okay, they could reanimate Street Wraith. That's still better for me than the other thing. Grief. Alright, Saga. It's time for Saga. And I am gonna skip the whole like brainstorm thing and just jam Retrofitter Foundry because I can pay 2 mana to block this Street Wraith forever and not really need to commit anything else to the board in the meantime. Though I should probably just Swords to Plowshare it. They have a fetch land. Shocking. Alright, it's Shadow time. And Winter Orb. Well, Winter Orb is certainly a pain in the ass. I'm going to Plow Street Wraith because I can Prismatic Ending the other one. Alright, looks like Urza Saga is not going to be part of the equation this game. Yep, disappointing. Disappointing result from Urza Saga here. I guess I could exile Winter Orb, but I think I care about that less than the Shadow. Alright, go ahead. So I search up Pithing Needle with my Saga because it's the only thing left. Oh, is this Murktide Regent? Sure is. Powerful stuff. And this is where Urza Saga not being a permanent land is a problem. Because I have this Supreme Verdict in my hand, but not only do I not have 4 mana, but I'm chucking the mana I do have into the bin. Probably naming Street Wraith with this Needle. And got a Brainstorm here to have a chance. Just looking for 2 lands off of this thing. Alright, I found 2 lands off of this thing. That Teferi is juicy. And I'm going to hide Teferi, play Flooded Strand. Then I can Teferi playing around Daze next turn. I take 6 in the meantime. And if they do draw a discard spell, they can take my Supreme Verdict. They would need something really weird and specific like Mystical Dispute or Spell Pierce to counter this Teferi with only 1 card in their hand. Because I'm up above Daze at this point, and they don't have 2 cards to force it. I'm going to shuffle. I know I don't want the top of my deck right now. And I am going to get the Tundra. Just lean in. If they have Destruction, they have Destruction. Right, get rid of Murktide Regent. Okay, sweet. Now I just have to see if I can grind through a Winter Orb. Death Shadow, the deck, is pretty threat light, actually. They usually have like the 4 Delvers, 4 Shadows, and then like 2 or 3 Delve threats. It used to be Garmag Angler. This person seems to be on Murktide Regent, which is probably just a straight upgrade. And I guess technically they're pretty close to hard casting Street Wraith, though probably not because of their own orb. And when they're not on board, I'm not super worried about Wasteland. I'm worried about Wasteland when they're ahead, not when they're behind or at parity. There's another Prismatic Ending in the deck that can get rid of Winter Orb. Teferi can bounce it in a couple turns, but that just untaps their lands, and then they get to replay Winter Orb and pass the turn. I can Supreme Verdict this turn, untap a land, play this one. So if they redeploy their Regent here, that's not going to be enough. Hopefully I just draw Swords of Plowshares and can clean it up in an easier way, a cheaper way. It doesn't look like that's the case. I can play spells at instant speed, so I'll just pass here. Not that I'm convinced it matters. I don't know what they would do that would make it matter if this is an instant or sorcery speed Supreme Verdict. I don't think they're going to be like pre-combat Delver, let's go. They are attacking Teferi, so it's time to Supremely Verdict. Splat. They have another Wasteland. That's fine. I wasn't using that anyway. Alright, cool. Continue to develop land drops. And this Containment Priest can jump in starting next turn and end the game pretty quickly. Like, it's clear that they don't have a threat in their hand. Oh, there's Prismatic Ending. How lucky. Okay, so I'm going to plus Teferi, and then I can Prismatic Ending as a sorcery, exile their Winter Orb in the end step, untap, and just have complete control of the situation. And if they play something like Delver instead, I can reconsider my options. Teferi plus Prismatic Ending is nice. Alright, and white, blue, 2 colors. That's a 2-drop. Get it out of here. And that got the scoop. Seeing the Murktide Regent, do I want Rest in Peace? They also have the Reanimates in the deck. So Rest in Peace has a bit of text. I don't know if it's as much as I need it to. Also, the Seal of Cleansing, now that I've seen Winter Orb, might be something I'm interested in, but Prismatic Ending just does so much of that same work. Maybe I just don't want Force of Will in the deck. Continue to push into heads-up answers, just 1-for-1 onboard answers. Do I want the Replenish? Is that possibly part of the plan? It is a very powerful card. Though sometimes it's awkward because Replenish puts Standstill back into play, and if it's like a mid-game value Replenish that returns like Standstill, Urza Saga, and 1 Shark Typhoon, but they have Death Shadow in play, then I'm stuck under my own Standstill. So maybe I just don't want to mess with Replenish. I want control over everything that happens in this game. Yeah, I'm just gonna submit the deck. I think Rest in Peace is too slow for the Grief Reanimate lines, and I can deal with Murktide Regent by the time that becomes part of the game. Right, no white source, but I'm on the draw with a Ponder and 2 removal spells, so I'm going to keep this. I'm really impressed by that Grief line. Like the Grief Reanimate is just such a crazy start. Supreme Verdict, the white cards keep coming. Let's just find some white lands to cast them. Yikes. Shuffle that up. Got there. Okay. Grief plus Reanimate does clear my answers, but they didn't do it on turn 1, and it's a 1-mana play, so here we are. It's like they're fetching into a Shadow. If they go like Thoughtseize Shadow, they can have a 3/3. Oh. So, not to disparage my opponent, but I don't think that's how you play Winter Orb. Just like the impact that this card is going to have is like, once I'm tapped out, just get me with it. But like just playing it when I only have 1 land anyway, and now I get to make plays like waiting for you to untap your land and then wasting the land you untapped that I definitely wouldn't have made otherwise. I would just recommend that you wait a little bit on that card until your Blue-Eyed opponent is tapped a little lower. Alright, so I can go for the Prismatic Ending here, or I can just keep making land drops. I'm going to cast Ponder. That's what's happening. Teferi's a good one. Swords of Plowshares is also a good one, but I don't know if I need a 3rd one. If I can get Teferi in, then I know that my ending will resolve and I can do the end step trick again. It's all pretty good stuff. Cyclist Wraith, Crack to fetch land. Shocked in this. I hope they just like cast 3 Death Shadows right now. Or they're casting Grief. That's strong. So I'm going to let Grief resolve and then cast Swords to Plowshares. And alright, they didn't have Force of Will. That's lucky. Alright, I'm going to let this Grief happen because I don't want to cast a spell into Daze. If they strip the Prismatic Ending to protect their Winter Orb, then I get to keep my threats and brainstorms, and if they don't do that, which they didn't, then I get to keep Prismatic Ending, which is ultimately a bigger part of my plan than that card is. Not casting a spell into Daze, refuse to do it, rather lose. They saw Supreme Verdict and decided that's not what this game's about, so they must not have many, if any, threats. Yeah, that's fine. And my next card down is Swords to Plowshares. I'll take it. So how do I want to play this? If I plow first, that gives them a chance to spend their Force of Will on this. But then if I pivot and jam Teferi, I'm going to start with the plow. You don't really want to bounce Street Wraith anyway, because that card is definitely one that they don't mind having in their hand. Alright, so I'm going to go for Teferi here. I'm going to have to fetch a Tundra to do it, which takes me off double white with their Wasteland. But if they untap their wasteland instead of a different land, then they don't get to cast spells this turn, which is fine. Do they have double days? Is that what's happening right now? Okay, sure. Alright, so they're back 2 lands. And they basically have 1 card in hand right now. Now it's 2. They didn't untap the wasteland. I like that. But I don't get to untap my non-basics. Now we get back, settle back into this Winter Orb game. Eventually I want to Prismatic Ending that thing, but in the meantime, we're chilling. Alright, cool. I can Prismatic Ending that around days, so that's what I'm gonna do. I think it's time. Alright, it's gone. Sweet freedom. We'll end step Brainstorm. I would have waited for my main phase. We're deep into the game here where they clearly don't have other plays to make, and they have a bunch of mana. I would have main phased that all day. And they still have to play around the Supreme Verdict that they know about. Another one. Yeah. That's not my fight. Arctide Regent. That's scary. Good thing my deck's full of answers. I have 3 turns to find one of them. Alright, so they attack once. I'm at 12, untap a land. They attack a second time. I'm at 5, untap a land. And I can Supreme Verdict. So I have a path to not lose to this Murktide Regent. Thoughtseize and Grief both mess that plan up. Taking my 7. Don't have much of a choice in that. And I'm gonna pass the turn again. Can't afford to cast any of these Brainstorms. Yeah, the second Winter Orb's gonna do it, I think. We danced around it for the first one for so long, made sure to remove it, and then they had another. Taking my other 7, going to 5. Maybe they forgot about Supreme Verdict and they'll play another creature here. But not Grief, please. If they do find a Thoughtseize, I have to Brainstorm in response, which might also kill me. Oh, jeez. Alright. So, I can let the Grief resolve, they take Supreme Verdict, and then I can Brainstorm afterwards. Brainstorming first doesn't matter, or let's see. So, if I find land, then hiding it actually is good. So, I'm going to Brainstorm. Okay, cool. So if I make a land drop, and I should hide one of these in case they reanimate it. I want to hide Supreme Verdict and Seal of Cleansing, but I don't think I get both. Oh, they have to take the Supreme Verdict, that's right. Alright, so hide Containment Freeze, hide Supreme Verdict. The Grief gets to take Verdict. And if they have Reanimate, they also get the Seal of Cleansing, but that's another card out of their hand, another thing I get to kill. Alright, so I go to 3 to Supreme Verdict here. But I hope they don't have Stifle in their deck. They usually don't. But I've seen weirder things. Verdict. Alright, now I gotta work through this Winter Orb before they find another threat. Oh, untapped Wasteland, that's interesting. Oh no. Oh no. Why would you untap Wasteland here? I think I have to untap Plains out of my outs. Alright, alright, I guess that's the reason I untap Wasteland. Alright, I'm gonna jam this because I'm past the point where I can play around days. And they can waste this land anyway. Alright, I need Delvert to not flip for 1 turn. Don't flip for 1 turn. Don't flip, don't flip, don't flip. Don't flip, don't flip, don't do it. Shit. Alright, we're dead. Yeah, died to the second Winter Orb. 1 life point away from stability here. Yeah, that was a tight one, and they had the technology, which is Winter Orb. This is an extremely mana-hungry deck. On the draw, in round number 2, have this sick mono-white hand. I think I'm gonna mulligan this. Alright, this one is much better. I'm gonna keep this and send Replenish to the bottom. That's definitely the card that I want to draw last out of all these cards. I would be kind of obsessed with this hand on the play, but on the draw, we're... Ooh, Basic Island? Oh, nope, Delver. I got excited for a second. I was like, could it be that we're in a control mirror with Standstill? Because I'm into that. But I do have Flusterstorm to back up whatever removal spell I'm about to find. Replenish was not the removal spell I wanted. So let's pace this out. So next, I draw planes right now. Next turn, I play planes. Then I draw Shark Typhoon. I play planes. Cycle Shark Typhoon, draw Replenish. Then we're going into turn 4 with a chance to draw any fourth land for Supreme Verdict against Delver. I think I could do worse than this. I'm not going to shuffle. I wish I had found a Swords to Plowshares, but I'll take a Supreme Verdict. Oh, if Delver flips. Please just don't. Alright, faded one. That matters a lot here. The next one's not going to fade because there's a Brainstorm to set it up. Though if they like fetch Ponder here, then they're not set up anymore. So I'm taking 1 this turn to 18, then I play my planes. Then, worst case scenario, I take 3 to 15, play the other planes, cycle Shark Typhoon, and I get 2 looks at a land for the Supreme Verdict, or a different removal spell, and lots of time to do it. The standstill is a little awkward because if I knew I was drawing a land, I would jam standstill and just let Shark Typhoon handle the Delver, but in this spot, I can't do it. Flusterstorm's just going to be better. They shuffled. So this is not a setup Delver right now. Expressive Iteration, that's a good one. I'm probably going to point Flusterstorm at it. But Delver comes in for 3. Yeah, I mean, other than saving it for a Lightning Bolt, clustering this draw 2 seems pretty good. They had a Volcanic Island to follow up. Alright, now we're in Slowpoke mode. Take your time. Take your time is the flavor text of Standstill. If I say that 5 or 6 times this league, now you know why. Alright, I'm going to use the Shark to just absorb 1 damage here. Or they can Lightning Bolt, or absorb 3 damage. Whether they Lightning Bolt my blocker to push through, or just let me jump block, it saves 3 damage either way. It's a block there. Missed on our first look at a land. Time to hit on the second. Another iteration. This is why I play 22 lands, by the way. Look at this hand. I just have 4 4-drops versus Delver. This turn 1 Delver on the play versus 4 4-drops. Dragon Rage Channeler. Alright. They are playing directly into the Supreme Verdict. I would like to pay it out, please. This game that I mapped out 3 turns ago. Deliver it to me. Yeah. I'll take that. It is awkward that this doesn't make mana right away. So if they had a Wasteland, they could waste it in response to the learn how to make mana trigger. And then I just don't even get 4. But they didn't have Wasteland, and they didn't stifle the chapter. So here we go. Now I'm just pummeling Supreme Verdicts onto the stack. I have another one lined up. If they waste me, then I don't have it anymore, but whatever. The third expressive iteration of the game. This was the wrong matchup to try to play control in. Ragavan's not bad, though. I can block it next turn with a construct. And they're definitely going to dash it. There is no reason to cast this card right now. So the Standstill does make that awkward. Yeah, if I draw a land and I can play Standstill and activate Urza Saga, that's just insane. Let's hope they exile something hilarious. Oh god. They exiled... That's the wrong kind of hilarious. Oh good, they didn't think to play it. Jesus. They just play that naming Urza Saga. I'm in the basement. Alright, let's draw a land, please. Any land. Yeah. Alright, so I'm gonna play the Standstill. This is probably worth a Force of Will if they have one. Or maybe not, because the Dragon Rage Channeler, I may have just spewed. Oh, no, I can check that eventually with the Retrofitter Foundry. I just need to not draw it this turn. I make a construct now. And we go to my turn, draw, make another construct, and I get to tutor up the Retrofitter Foundry. There's Foundry. And I can plow this thing if I need to just ashamedly exile my my own standstill, which I don't think I need to do, because Retrofitter Foundry turns these both into 4/4s. I'm attacking for 9 next turn. I'm winning this damage race. Like, they're gonna have to pop standstill to win this game. I think they just figured that out. Urza Saga, wow. Showing up. So I can Force of Will this, but I'm not going to. I can Swords to Plowshare as one of my constructs if I need to. I could also just plow their Channeler. So the question is, how many bolts am I willing to abide by? This plowing their Channeler is the same amount of life as plowing my own constructs, so that is probably the play. I'm gonna plow now. This lets them pitch Force of Negation, but they could have hard cast it on their own turn. Item of 4. If they have the other 2 bolts, I'm dead. Because even if I force one of them, I go to 3 to do it, which is the same as just taking 3 at this point. They found a Wasteland, which is like mildly disruptive, but not really what this game is about right now. So it's better than them finding Lightning Bolt. So if they waste it, means I don't get to replenish with Daze protection. They did not shuffle their library. That's gone. So removal spell. Brainstorm's a good card. I'll take that all day. Alright, that's not the most exciting spread I've seen, but double force is not bad. And I can put back the Flooded Strand. Yeah, if I play Saga, what happens? What does this race look like? I attack for 8 right now. I have double Force of Will and they're dead on the backswing. Okay. I'm ready to commit to that. Here come the constructs. Alright, so 6 right now puts them to 11 versus 8 right now putting them to 9 if I make the construct, or the servo. I'm gonna do it. Just push it. Let's go. Yeah, if Delver flips, I actually am in trouble. For some reason in my head that was not part of the plan. But okay, so they have Lightning Bolt. I'm at 1. I can only force a negation, not force a will. Alright, there's that. Any counterspell or second or fourth bolt wins this game. Yeah, they had a force 2. Yeah, I'm not going to show them the other one. Alright, close game. We lost by 1 life point on the final turn of a game that they had turn 1 Delver on the play, and I had 4 4-drops in my hand. Yeah, that was a close one. Right, Test of Talents comes in, Hydroblast comes in. Rest in Peace is good against Murktide Regent and the Dragon Rage Channeler, but it's also good against my Shark Engine. But is the Shark Engine going to be in the deck anymore? Like, Replenish is a clunker, Force of Will and Negation are clunkers. And Crucible's also kind of a clunker. If I cut Crucible, I get Rest in Peace. I'm not convinced that I want Rest in Peace. I'm going to bring in Seal of Cleansing in case they're a Winter Orb deck. I haven't seen that out of blue-red, but it's certainly a thing that could happen. On the play, I don't mind 3 standstills. On the draw, I'll probably go down to 2. I'm going to try this version. Yeah, I don't think I want... I think the 1 Force of Will is better than the 1 Replenish. Okay, let's go. Alright, this is a handful of cards. I'm going to keep it. 2 removal spells, Flusterstorm, Cantrip, In Shark Typhoon, Snapcaster Mage. This deck mostly just needs a 3rd land to really function, and there are still 20 of them in the deck. I'm going to lean on Island. I don't know what I would Flusterstorm right now, but I know I don't need the plains. They'll probably play a Delver. There it is. And then I'm gonna Swords to Plowshares the Delver. Or I guess I want a Prismatic Ending the Delver. I can save the the plow for a bigger creature or when I need an instant, since I'm going to main phase this anyway. I invite a force. They didn't have a force. Alright. Fine. I think I'll fluster an expressive iteration this turn. I'm not going to fluster a ponder. If they like Dragon's Rage Channeler or Ragavan this turn, those both just run into the Shark Typhoon, which I'm pretty interested in. So Ragavan does pose some danger in if they lightning bolt my shark. That hurts. Alright, so probably just allowing this right now. I guess I'll wait. I can see what they're gonna draw because they just set this up. They're gonna reveal it. I get some information about their hand. And oh wow, they just didn't have anything. So maybe Shark will get to eat this. Also, if they dash Ragavan this turn, I would prefer my Swords to Plowshares go there. So that is in fact what happened. And I'm not going to let a Lightning Bolt break this up. If I had 4 mana, I would go for the Shark Typhoon, back it up with the Fluster, but obviously that's not what I had. Alright, missing a land drop hurts, but my hand is pretty well set up still. Delver still failed to flip. I will definitely put Shark Typhoon in front of this one. We'll eat up a Lightning Bolt, gain me 3 life. Draw a card. Yep. Yeah, that's fine. Just forcing them to use a Lightning Bolt on that is not the worst thing that could have happened. So I can Plow Delver, jam Standstill, and get dazed. Or I could play a little slower. Yeah, I think I want to slow it down. I think it's clear they don't have a second threat in their hand. And if I Plow Delver on their turn, untap, play Standstill with Flusterstorm back up, and I get a little more insurance. Delver's still bad at flipping. I can take 1 right now to make sure they don't like jam Murktide Regent second main. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Alright, so there's that one. So I can, if I draw a white source, I just get to ram here. But if I don't, then I am kind of playing from behind. Maybe I'll Snap Plow and see if that works. But their deck has Red Blast in it. But this is one of those like control deck, play to win versus play to not lose moments. I'm gonna Swords to Plowshares, Delver of Secrets. So they're 1 card type away from this being a 3/3 anyway, so I'm gonna Swords this thing. I kind of hope they fight over it. Okay, so Shark Typhoon is not the worst card I've ever seen. Alright, there's a game to be played here. If I jam Standstill, I'm basically betting on my deck producing one of the 18 lands left in it before this Delver kills me. Let's play. This is a calculated risk, and they should be suspicious of it. Like the level 1 play, yeah, there we go. The level 1 play is just like, yeah, okay, Standstill's in, I have Delver, idiot. And the level 2 is what's their plan. So I am going to fight over this. And if they have a Daze, that's also fine. Because like, this is kind of a risky play anyway. Okay, cool. Got a Pyroblast and a Daze out of their hand for what was already a speculative line. It's not a bad payday. Delver's still refusing stubbornly to flip. So now drawing the land lets me Snapcaster around Daze. Oh, I'll try this. Been needing this one for a minute now. Pyroblast. Is this a fight I want to fight? I could Test of Talents that. I kind of want to save Test of Talents for Lightning Bolt. Like, how many Pyroblasts do I think are in this deck? But the Brainstorm does seem important, and there is a spell on the stack, and I'm not doing anything else with this mana. So let's test their talents. Oh, they did have the full 4. Didn't even split them. Wow. Alright, so Pyroblast out of the graveyard. Shrinks the Murktide Regent. Their hand is Wasteland Volcanic Island. Alright, so they are on empty over there currently. Dragon's Rage Channeler. 4 of these, 3 rags. Or I did one already. It's 4, 4, 4, and 3 Murktide Regent. This is like a tight package. Iterations, Abrades. and Bolt. Yeah, this is just 4 ofs across the board, including the Pyroblast. That was a pretty good test of talents. Now I need this Brainstorm not to brick. Okay, it didn't. I like basically everything that's going on right now. Brazen Borrower is the worst card here. Though Standstill is a multi-turn line. So I'm gonna tuck these two, play the Scalding Tarn, and pass. I need double white to cast the Supreme Verdict, and they do have Wasteland in their hand, which I've now seen. Alright, they have Force of... Oh, they should have shuffled that. They don't have a blue card to go with that. Yeah, so now they have Force with no blue card in their hand and Volcanic Island. Oh, they can make their 5th land drop next turn and hard cast Force, so that's not the worst play that there's ever been. Yeah, I know 100% what their hand is right now, so I'm gonna snap Prismatic Ending. And it's all the same. This is my only Snapcaster Mage. And might as well not give them the life, right? Right, that's gone. My top card is Standstill. What they do on their turn, whether they produce a threat or not, will determine if Standstill is something I want or if I'm going to shuffle. And also the nature of the threat, because I have Shark Typhoon that can answer a Delver, but it can't answer a Regent or a Channeler. Ragavan is super blanked between Snapcaster and Shark Typhoon. They did not shuffle. There's the land. They have 1 unknown card in their hand. And it's Murktide Regent. Alright, cool. I have that one beat. So I can Brazen Borrower and then cast Standstill. They force the Standstill, but then their hand's empty. That's fine. There's no way to sequence this where I can get Standstill into play and bounce their thing. And I'm not fetching into that Wasteland. I refuse to do it. Alright, let's put you on empty. And I have the Brazen Borrower and Shark Typhoon to continue the pressure. At 11 life, which is a pretty comfortable number. Okay, that was the best card they could ever draw. Gotta fade 1 flip. Please don't flip my Jace. Did I board Jace out? I hope so. Alright, they hit Hall of Heliod. It's a bummer that that one's out of the deck. Would have been a great draw on this board state, but better than nothing. Okay, cool. So now I can attack with my Snapcaster because I have 2 different answers to Rag at instant speed. There's just no rush here. I'm going to cycle Shark Typhoon for 1 to block the Ragavan and leave Swords to Plowshares up. Because they only have 1 card in hand. It can't be Lightning Bolt and Daze, so one of these is guaranteed to work. There's the Shark. We'll lock it. And then I have Swords of Plowshares plus Brazen Borrower. Alright, don't even need it. Maybe I will not Swords of Plowshares that creature. Ooh. Alright, so wasting their waste just became something I'm probably interested in doing. And I do actually want to Swords of Plowshares this right now. And I'm not going to attack in case they rip Ragavan. I just don't want to play to that world. And I don't mind sitting on the Brazen Borrower for a minute. Like, let them draw Force of Will. Go ahead, force this thing. I guess if I Wasteland their Wasteland before I cast it, then they don't even get to force it. But I'm going to waste their waste because I have Urza Saga coming. Which they should see from a mile away. The fact that I made that play. Still holding back Snapcaster Mage. Really not interested in losing this game to a Ragavan. Okay. Lightning Bolt, they're empty again. Alright, that's one of their better draws. They exiled Misty Rainforest, which is not Wasteland, which is good for me. If I can make even 1 construct on this board, that's great. This looks like a Murktide Regent. Yep. So I have the mana to Supreme Verdict and activate Urza Saga. Ooh, or I could just cast Jace the Mind Sculptor. That sounds better. In just every single way. Alright, so blue, blue. Oh, I miscounted also. I did not have enough mana to do both things. Good job, man. Alright, here's Jace. Bounce Murktide Regent. Still not attacking. Respect Ragavan. I'm gonna win this game or I'm not. Like there's just, I think the like nickel and dime, like the Snapcaster could have got in for 6 by now, but I just really don't think that that's where this game is getting played. Okay, so draw step, and then that was pretty good. Make a construct, get Retrofitter Foundry, and I'm gonna lead on Standstill to know if it resolves or not to decide what I need to do with Jace. Alright, Jace bounces Delver, and now the game is over. Game 3. You don't think anything changes about my sideboard plan. In fact, Test of Talents gets even better now that I know they're just mono 4-ofs. Just 4 Red Blast, literal 4 Red Blast, not even split between Pyroblast and Red Elemental Blast, just 4 of the same one. And do I want the replenish? That game did get kind of crunchy. And knowing they have 4 Red Blast, having a white card that can just smash the game open is pretty cool. Is there anything I can do to have fewer blue cards in the deck? And I don't think so. Yeah, that looks like a pretty solid situation here. And having the Jace still in the deck, knowing that they have 4 Rebs, might be a little wild, but like we saw, it's a way to control Murktide Regent. Like bouncing Delve threats is a very real answer. I said I probably want to cut a Standstill on the draw. I don't even have the argument that it pitches to Force anymore because it doesn't, because there's no Forces. Maybe I do want a Force in the deck. So yeah, I'm gonna play all of my Standstills, and this is my plan. Our Containment Priest is actually a non-blue thing that can come into play and interact with Ragavan. You can interact with Dragon Rage Channeler too. So this might be better than Jace, especially on the draw, and the second Standstill. Like it doesn't do anything except jump into play and fight these creatures. With Crucible, Hall of Heliod, and Replenish in my deck, I'm not bringing in my Rest in Peace. I still think it's better for me. It's worse for me than it is for them. So this is what I'm going to try. 4 lands and a Swords to Plowshares. Keep. There's Ragavan. Okay, well, I'm not going to Swords to Plowshares Ragavan into Daze. I'll take my medicine, get hit by this thing once, and then I'll plow it with Lusterstorm Protection on the following turn. The Rag connects and gets a Shark Typhoon. Good luck with that one. You can't cycle from Ragavan. It says you may cast it, and they do not have 6 mana, not even close. It would be an exciting world, though, if Delver were able to put that card into play. By exciting, I mean terrible, and I would lose immediately, but it would still be exciting. It would be dynamic gameplay, as Wizards of the Coast would call it. So I'm going to wait till combat to go after the Rag with Plow. They revealed Brainstorm. So if they cast Brainstorm before combat, they didn't fall for it. I was about to say maybe I get to Fluster 2 spells. All right, I'm going to Plow Rag. There's certainly sequences of removal, like, alright, so they have to pay 3 for this, which they do have, but it taps them out for the turn. Yeah, the Ragavan treasure is paying off in spades here. Oh wow. They didn't pay. Did they just have a daze too? What's going on over there? Okay. Interesting. Oh, I don't know which of these things I'm more interested in. They just took like a weird, awkward mid-combat Brainstorm line. They could have just paid for Flusterstorm. They force pitch Dazed, then also Dazed. Alright. Weird. Rag hit Urza Saga. Wasteland, historically, just great card against my deck. And I can Snap Plow. They have 1 card left in their hand over there. And I don't know anything about it. They revealed this Brainstorm to Delver, which they cast, and when they cast it after they dazed. So The card in their hand is probably not the remaining land. All right, I'm gonna get some info about their draw step from this Delver before I make any decisions. All right, so they've revealed Lightning Bolt, which means that I do want to plow Ragavan, though I can let them draw for turn before I do that, in case their last card in hand is Ragavan. Okay, so I can plow the Rag to stop the flow of cards. I take 6 here. There's a lot. And the Lightning Bolt chilling over there. Oh, I think what I should have done is play Containment Priest, let them use their Lightning Bolt on it, then plowed. That line plays into Daze, but I think it's worth the risk because I know they have a Lightning Bolt and they only might have a Daze. Right, if you have Daze, here's a target. Or if they want to spend their Lightning Bolt on this, that's also pretty cool with me because I am at 1 on board. I lose this game to Pyroblast. Lose this game to a lot of stuff, actually. I'm going to ponder. If this can bait out a Pyroblast, that's great. Brainstorming in response. Alright. So if they find a second bolt, I lose, like, no matter what. Yeah, I think I actually had to play that Containment Priest into Daze and let them try to bolt it. Alright. So they just brainstormed. Their hand is all fresh cards right now. If they have Red Blast or Daze, I'm dead. Wow. One of these. Alright, those spells resolved. They're at 24, so I don't think attacking here is super important. Like, I'm just thinking if their last... I know one of their last cards is Bolt. If the other one is also Ragavan, having backup blocker is going to help. Alright, so I can... Alright, if they bolt one of my creatures at this point, I'm actually super happy with that deal, so go ahead, Snapcaster Mage, get in there. And I'm going to cycle my Shark Typhoon right now for 2. Because if I draw a Prismatic Ending, I want to be able to cast it. Okay. Didn't draw a Prismatic Ending. So they bolt the Shark. Oh, they bolt Containment Priest. Oh, do they have Ragavan? Did I just fail to play around Ragavan completely? Despite my best efforts? Like, I spent 2 full games playing around Ragavan, and then I'm just like, yeah, fuck it. I don't need to respect that card anymore. Alright, trading with Delver. But bolting that creature when my life level is so low seems like kind of nuts. But if they have another bolt, it doesn't matter. My opponent is tilting in the chat. They said, fuck, why do I always miss? Exclamation point, question mark. Why do you always have Ragavan? I don't know. What are you trying to hit? You hit a Shark Typhoon. Couldn't even use it. Swords of Plowshare is a very good one. Brainstorm, very good one. I gotta get some life points. Oh, wow. That was pretty good. Shark Typhoon and Hydroblast give me a lot of breathing room, though not at the same time. So I have to play this Volcanic Island. They get to waste it, but I have to work through these cards. I'm gonna be a hard having double blue. So I'm gonna put back Brainstorm and Plow. Then I'll play the Volk. And this lets me cycle Shark Typhoon for at least 1 when they go for the Rag, or go for the Wasteland. And then I draw Plow, I find Brainstorm next turn. And then I have Plow Hydroblast up for this turn. Rage Channeler. That doesn't matter, and I can kill it. They have not activated their Wasteland. Oh, there it is. So that works. It's gone. 2, 3. Right. I'm gonna make a 2/2 Shark because I can, or a 1/1 Shark, because that still trades with Ragavan. It's still a creature on the board, and it lets me play around. I guess I didn't need to play around Lightning Bolt Daze because I know their hand is Ragavan. So I'm not gonna. Yeah, I'm not gonna. Brainstorm here. I guess I should Swords to Plowshares now, because if their last card counters it, I want to know that I need to cast Brainstorm. Alright, land is good. Swords to Plowshares, very good. So now I have 2 answers to Ragavan. I think I can attack pretty safely. Start getting this game over with. One chunk at a time. Remember that time I played around Ragavan for 2 full games, and on like the one turn I decided not to. They had it. And it actually was really good. It was the difference between 4 life and 2, which is bolt range. I'm not going to plow this thing right away. 1 is the same as 2 in this matchup, I think. No attacks. I'm going to plow on their upkeep. If they have a counterspell, I want them to have to use it. And I'm saving this Hydroblast for Lightning Bolt, because the fact that they have a just GG button in their deck, at least 3 of them, is really scary. I'd love to find a Test of Talents to get all the Lightning Bolts out of their deck. Counter target spell if it's red. That's my plan. They could hardcast Force of Will here. Alright, they didn't have it. Alright, my safety net is gone. Come on, Brainstorm. Let's bring it home. Prismatic Ending and Ponder. Alright, so put back the Vista and the Ending. Fetch to 1. Is that what I want to do? Or no, Priest is much worse than Prismatic Ending. Alright, I am going to fetch to 1. It's the same as 2. Doesn't matter. Ponder. Let's find Test of Talents. Oh yeah. Alright, found Test of Talents. And no attacks now, because that leaves me Pyroblast Rag dead. 1 life to 26. 4.5 minutes on the clock to 2.5 minutes. I'm drawing Shark Typhoon. That means Snapcaster Mage is getting rowdy. Here we go. In there. You're on notice. You have 13 turns. Alright, I'm gonna make a 1/1 Shark. That's enough to Test of Talents and play around days. Keeps me moving through the deck. Nice Flooded Strand. 12 turns left. Your move. No reason to play the Tundra unless I'm trying to like bait the Wasteland. Do I think that them having more mana is important or not? Let's go Ponder. I don't even care if they Red Blast this. Ooh, Crucible of Worlds. That doesn't do anything. This is a shuffle. Wasteland, I can play that. Now Crucible of Worlds does something. Sweet irony. I'm not convinced Wasteland does anything on the volcanic island, because they have all the treasures from Rag. But they have so many cards in hand that the next Lightning Bolt will probably have some protection. Drawing the other Test of Talents is probably what I'm really looking for. I think if they had Lightning Bolt with protection, it would be on the stack already. Ooh, just committing to a Wasteland fight. Interesting. One of us is dead right now. Ah, it's me. Alright, yep, they were able to do it with protection. The Wasteland didn't matter, but yep, after a long drawn out battle, literally that turn that I decided to stop playing around Rag and just get in for attack for like 1 or 2 or whatever that attack was for, cost me that game. Like, that was the difference between 4 life and 2, which is Lightning Bolt versus not Lightning Bolt. Like, that's why I'm such a psycho about, just don't take damage, don't let this thing connect. And one turn I let down my own shield. I got impatient with my own rule, my own play pattern, and I lost the game for it. So there is a lesson there. Please take it to heart. Learn from my mistakes. On the play, in round number 3, I have a hand with Island and Ponder. I'm going to keep it. So we've come up just a little short against Delver twice in the first 2 matchups. So that is certainly worth noting for future iterations of the deck. Just working on it, moving forward. Alright, I kind of just spewed this Ponder because I was talking about Delver, but because I don't know what I'm playing against yet, so what am I even pondering for? My hand is already solid. So I got pretty lucky finding Brainstorm right away like that. So I'm going to draw the Scalding Tarn, hide the Brainstorm on top in case they're a discard deck, and then I don't want Replenish for quite a while. But like I was saying, came out just a little short against Delver. 1 and 2 losses into tight matches. Came down to a few life points here and there. So finding some way to shore that up, whether it be just lean into Red Blast myself to answer Murktide Regents and Delvers more consistently, or whatever. That's definitely a space that needs to be dug into deeper. Ragavan also, consistent issue. So answers to Rag, Engineered Explosives is a nice one. Oh, look at this. We have this probably Enchantress opponent just chilling out over there. It's time for me to read Replenish. Okay, it's not Enchantress. Return all enchantment cards from your graveyard. Okay, okay. Alright, looks like they're not actually Enchantress. And I don't think for 1 second that this was a calculated, like, Reanimator style, go to 8 cards, discard Uro. Not for 1 second do I believe that. Alright, I'm going to Brainstorm here. This Supreme Verdict and Swords of Plowshare is probably not super important to the game plan right now. They might just aggro Spew of Force of Will on this, which, whatever, go nuts. Supreme Verdict, not part of the plan. Teferi's going to be great. Shark Typhoon's going to be great. Swords of Plowshares, I can figure that out later. Then I'm going to fetch for my Tundra. Or do I get the Volcanic Island here? Because I have white. I don't need 2 of it. And I see Uro right there. I'm going to get Tundra. I'll worry about the Volcanic Island later. I get another Ponder right now. Yes, please stand still. That is exactly the kind of card I want right now. Alright, don't shuffle. Play this that I hope I'm not going to use because the whole top of my deck is gas. If I can avoid like an Ice Fang Coatl this turn, I'm going to be doing alright. Oh wow, they're Brainstorm locked. It's kind of funny that I have this absolute banger of a Standstill here, and it's just not even good. Alright, here we go. Here's Standstill. Yeah, they're just scooping it up to that. Okay, so we're playing against Bant. Bant's place in the metagame is that they are bigger and pretty resilient to Delver. However, in the control mirrors, really the only thing they're doing better than like a pure blue-white deck like mine is Uro. And that's why I have Rest in Peace in my deck. I'm not bringing in all of them, just some. Seal of Cleansing. We've seen Abundant Growth. They probably have Sylvan Library as well. Back to basics, I don't expect to be particularly effective in the matchup. So Force of Will. Force of Negation is hard castable, but I don't think that's what's going to be super important. And I'm bringing in a Rest in Peace, so I should probably cut at least one of my graveyard cards. Should it be Crucible or Snapcaster? Probably Crucible. Oh, Brazen Borrower is one of the cheekier answers to Uro. I don't need this many Supreme Verdicts. That's what's going on here. So, chaining Standstills together is how I plan to win this game. Actually, do I even want Rest in Peace? Because I have a lot of answers to Uro in this deck between Caracas, the Plows, the Prismatic Endings, and I could just overpower what my opponent's doing with my graveyard synergy. Like, I think Hall of Heliod plus Shark Typhoon and Urza Saga is more powerful than Uro over the course of a long game. So I think I want some of the forces back over the Supreme Verdicts, because we are going to have to fight over, like, Narset probably is a card that they're likely to have. Okay, here we go. Prismatic Ending with the 1 Volcanic Island does get up to 3 for something like Narset or Teferi, so that's good. Yeah, it's interesting how far from my original sideboard plan I actually ended up on after thinking about it some more. That's why sideboard guides are a trap. You gotta be moving and reacting. Oh god, opponent mulled to 4. What are you doing over there? The whole point of playing Bant Control is that you hit all your land drops. They said free win for you in the chat. I mean, my deck's real slow. If you kept a functional 4, you'll hit your land drops eventually. Alright, my opponent is explaining to me that they were mana screwed in game 1 and mulled to 4 in game 2. Yeah, I was there. I saw it happen. It's unfortunate. I feel for you. I'm going to shuffle this because I just want to hit land drops. The way that a opponent who mulls to 4 beats you is you just get mana screwed and don't get to play the game either. Alright, so if I jam Standstill right now, they can counter it or they can put Icefang Coatl into play. Icefang Coatl I can race with Urza Saga, though the Retrofitted Foundry being in my hand is kind of whack. So I'm gonna need to find some land drops along the way. Let's get to work, Urza Saga. I don't think, like, if we were playing a more normal game, I don't think I would lead on Saga. Probably would have Flooded Stranded first and, like, play Saga as my last land, just to make sure that my mana is developed. But because they're sort of limping in here with no cards, I like this plan. And I have a feeling I'm about to get them. Okay, they're just conceding. But I was going to say I have a feeling I'm about to get them with Pithing Needle, because once Urza Saga's trigger resolves, the artifact comes into play and there's no further window to respond. So there's no point where they know that I'm getting Pithing Needle that they can crack their fetch lands in response. Like, it's trigger chapter 3, okay, resolves, boom, Pithing Needle, Flooded Strand, and it's shut down. Unfortunately, these are the fetch lands that are also in my deck, but they already conceded, so it doesn't matter. But I would have had to do some thinking about whether I want to name Vista or just fetch my Flooded Strand and name Strand. But whatever, the game is over, it doesn't matter. On the draw for round 4 after a very quick round 3, and this is the mono white hand again. Can't keep it. Urza Saga's not that good. So let's look at this for a second. 4, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 14 white sources, or blue sources in the deck. And I'm on the draw. There's 53 cards in my deck. 14 goes into 53 almost 4 times. Okay, no. 1 in 4 hits. It's like 3 point something. 1 in 3 point something cards is a blue source. That's not good enough for me. I'm going to mulligan. There we go. Hall of Heliod, that's a late game play, so that's an easy send to the bottom. In the early game when we're just trying to develop around Wasteland. Little Misty Rainforest action over there. Right, snow-covered island off of Misty Rainforest. This could be Bant again. Ponder chose to shuffle. Love to see it. I'm going to play my Flooded Strand. Prismatic Vista gives away that I'm definitely some sort of control deck. I guess some combo decks play Vista, like Show and Tell, but the decks that would just lead on Prismatic Vista go, they know for sure they're not gonna just die. They probably know they don't have to play around Stifle also. I'm gonna play my Vista. Now the jig is up. I mean, that's an extremely low percentage gained there by leading on Delta over Vista, if it's anything at all. If the opponent's even on the level where they're like this versus that, I don't know. Well, definitely brainstorming in response to this Narset, because this is a problem for my deck. Okay, so put back these 2 planes, or put back Plains Plow, actually. No, I have a lot of lands right here. Okay, Narset's in there. I'm gonna fetch the Volcanic Island in case I find Prismatic Ending. Speaking of Prismatic Ending. Alright, so I'm gonna fetch the Volk. I don't think this deck's gonna have Wasteland in it. Just don't think it's true. Also, I can... if they minus Narset, I guess I should have played Urza Saga to keep the beats going. I just defaulted to Plains, but Urza Saga was the right land to play, because I can cycle Shark Typhoon for 1 with the first chapter of Saga, and then it's ready to continue pooping out friends over the next 2 turns after that. And I want to just keep some steady pressure on this Narset. If they activate her, she goes to 1. Shark Typhoon can clean it up. And I can draw a card on their turn. Each opponent can only draw 1 card per turn. It's their turn, so I can draw an extra card. Or a card. It's not extra. So the same prismatic ending, just picked back up, at least as far as I know. It could be a different one, but they cast Brainstorm and then picked up a card I've already seen. Alright, here comes a shark. Do. Alright, there's my prismatic ending. So I have 2 answers to Narset here. Just on lock. I can Swords to Plowshares a Coatl. I hope I don't have to, but it's likely to occur here. And I think plowing Coatl to get the Narset dead is better than spending my prismatic ending on it, because eventually they're going to have an Uro. And Swords to Plowshares, in general, is not the best card for this matchup. Oh, Endurance, that's so much worse. It doesn't draw a card, though, and I'm going to plow it either way, so maybe it's fine. If they force this, then that's pretty good. Okay, so they had force. Sure. Alright. Fair enough. Endurance is in here, playing goalie on my shark. And now it's time for Urza Saga. Then I can end the Narset if I care next turn, or I'm more likely to activate Saga and plow the Endurance. Oh, here come the beats. They don't seem afraid of a second Shark Typhoon. That's why. Alright, this is getting bad quickly. It was already bad, but it's getting worse. No plays in the end step. Got nothing to do with that. Saga's Chapter 3 can tutor up Pithing Needle, which can check the Jace. The Narset in play isn't doing anything right now, so I don't really need to take any action on it. I am going to make a move on this Endurance, though. I would like that creature out of play at least. And I was doing that before they untapped and represented Hardcast Force. The Jace Brainstorming. This is the last Brainstorm this Jace is going to get. I mean, they have Prismatic Ending that can exile Needle. So maybe I should try to bait it with a main phase. Like, oops, misclick. Yeah, I'm going to like oops, misclick this. And if they want to ending it. Okay, they didn't do it. Alright. Didn't fall for my tricks. Then make another one. Tutor up Pithing Needle, name Jace. Jace the Mind Sculptor, that's the one. Then I can play my land for the turn. And I can attack Jace straight into Icefang Coatl. I could Prismatic Ending Narset. Alright, I mean, this is already a 3-for-1, so let's make the attack that I have. Endurance, okay. Got me with that one again. Ouch. Alright. Blowout City. I gotta keep falling for the Endurance. I've been the Endurance deck so much since they printed that card that I've forgotten how to not be the Endurance deck. Just like, in for 3. Nope, still not good enough. Prismatic Ending, regrettably, is a sorcery. So I can end the Narset. Volcanic Island, putting in work here. That unlocks my Ponder for next turn. Unless, of course, they just have a counterspell right now. Alright, Narset's gone. The Bant decks usually play 2 of it, but let's hope they don't have the second one. Yep. Pithing Needle's gone. And now I'm in all sorts of trouble. This Jace is going to bury me. The present attackers versus tutor up Pithing Needle. I needed one of those lines to work, and it didn't. Ponder to shuffle. Here's Uro. Alright, we're getting down to business now. I think I've lost this one. Safe to say. Attacking for 1, but not for 3. Makes some sense. Nope, here comes all 4. Alright, no blocks. Their Jace is pretty safe. I don't have a way to put 2 artifacts into play. Oh, that's not true. If I just... Okay, they just had removal anyway. I was about to say if I just rip Retrofitter Foundry, that is 2 things. So... Force Negation, Brainstorm, Tundra. None of those are good. Not even sure what I'm looking for here. I think I have to let them return Uro to play Supreme Verdict. And what am I even playing to? I don't think I have any outs here. I guess if I Supreme Verdict into Swords to Plowshares for the Uro on the second go around, and then if they can't muster more pressure for the Jace, like, yeah, that it's bad. Make no mistake, it's really bad here. Like, they're just pulling ahead on cards the whole time as the rest of this stuff is happening. But I do have a chance to draw Swords to Plowshares, I guess. Right, I know that I don't want to draw a land here, so I am going to shuffle first. Flusterstorm. Alright, that's not super helpful. This takes the immediate pressure off the board, but still losing to Jace. The classic Jace the Mind Sculptor unopposed in a control mirror. I have represented red mana in game 1 though. I don't think they're going to board out their Jaces in a control mirror, like no percent on that, but they're going to have to consider Pyroblast second main. Uro's back. If I can draw my Caracas, I can buy a bunch of time against that thing. Oh, Sylvan Library too. The gang's all here. Shark Typhoon. That might do something. Might buy me a turn. I can't cycle it now because Jace could just bounce the token, then they attack for 6. Oh, cast Terminus. Cast it. Cast it. Coward. Alright. So seeing that Terminus was kind of big. Though that's not going to be in the deck post board. Alright, so I'm going to cycle Shark Typhoon for 1, because 1 is the same as any other number. I guess 2 would have been better, because Swords to Plowshares, then I survived the attack. Yeah, I should have done 2. Alright, I can still draw for my Shark. Immediately punished 1 second after explaining why that's a punishing play. Okay, I blew that one. Should have Sharked for 2 to stay alive for a turn. Alright, we were never winning that game, but that was still a small imperfection. So rest in peace. We are back in this same situation as last round where I started with the rest in pieces and changed my mind. Yeah, I think Supreme Verdict and Swords to Plowshares are with the endurances, maybe Swords to Plowshares are more important than I want them to be. So Chest of Tales, just 1-for-1 counter spells I like. Seal of Cleansing comes in. The Supreme Verdicts are pretty much actively terrible in the matchup. And go down to 2 Force of Will and 1 Force of Negation. Brazen Borrower is also not great. It can get Jace or Narset out of play for a turn. It's also a 3/1 body that can pressure them. So I like it on that level. So I could cut 1 Plow for 1 Rest in Peace, just as like a tool I can dig for if I need it. They both all are mostly there to answer Uro. Alright, I'm gonna go with this version. Uh-oh. This is 1 land away from a keepable hand. I'm not going to keep this 1-lander though. I will keep this hand. And I want to send, I think it's Swords to Plowshares to the bottom. Yeah, that's in the maybe pile. Like, maybe shouldn't even be in the deck. Some number should be. Endurance totally changes the number of things that your opponents have to play against as Bant. Right, so I'm not ready for Rest in Peace. I know that. I do want the land and the Teferi. We saw last game got dominated by nonsense planeswalkers, and I want to try to play that game myself. And I am going to shuffle away the Rest in Peace, because I just don't think that's where I want to be yet. That's like a late game thing. Once I'm ahead, shut down any potential Uro shenanigans. I will fetch the Volcanic Island here. At least make them think about those Red Blasts that I don't have. So I could jam Teferi. They could force it. They could counterspell it. They could Dovin's Veto it. They could do a lot of things. They could just flash in Ice Vanquaddle if I do nothing, though. Let's go for it. If they force it, it's a 2-for-1. So I'll take that at least. And my hand is kind of tap outy. Like, if I don't spend this mana now, I'm not going to. And like, Urza Saga next turn goes to chapter 1, make a 2/2 shark, untap on chapter 2, and begin the no spell beatdowns. And they're going into their planeswalker turn. So if they make a Narset right now, oh, they actually do have Red Blast, unlike me. I'm just faking it. Okay. Never mind. So they're Bant with red, which is not the common build, or at least not stock. It's a thing you can do, obviously, because look, they're doing it. But it is not the stock build. Alright, Saga, let's go. So now between Saga and Shark Typhoon, I get to make a number of creatures over the next several turns. They could also just like return to nature my Urza Saga. Okay, I think Quaddle's fine. Even though Saga is an enchantment land, like disenchant hits this, I have yet to see anyone actually do that. Like I have not just gotten Stone Rained or gotten to Stone Rain anyone with just disenchant on your Urza Saga. I'm gonna let this Quaddle. Oh, it doesn't have Death Touch. Should have blocked. But I wanted to let it hit me because I want to pressure Planeswalkers on the backswing if they had 1 second main. But without Death Touch, I probably just should have blocked that jerk. Okay, so that ticks up. I think I want to Brainstorm here. This Crucible is going to be good at some point, but I don't think we're there yet. Oh, it just got a lot better. Okay, so put back... Oh no, I do get a shuffle. I draw one of these cards and then I shuffle the other one. So I think Snapcaster Mage is the card that I want to shuffle. And I want to draw a Crucible. There's a Wasteland. That's pretty good. If I waste them now, what color do I want to take? Probably blue. Or green. They're all blue. I just want to take them off green. So that's the Uro, that's the library. Right, back up Quaddle. My 2/2 Shark has those covered. And I'm drawing Crucible next turn. So I would really like to win a counter war over that card. I guess this turn I could have jammed Crucible with Test of Talents backup. And then it just would have been in play. But they have Prismatic Endings in their deck. That's tricky. Crucible is the type of card that can just end a control mirror. But it's also the type of card that takes time. Like, you want to jam that when the dust settles at the end of a game. Not necessarily like tap out for it on turn 5. Certainly not against the Prismatic Ending build that can just answer it. So they have Death Touch because they see each other. I've been ended. So I could Test of Talents this, but I don't think I need to or want to. I'd rather make a Construct. And Retrofitter Foundry is going to be the tutor. Alright, Construct. Construct. I guess I should... It doesn't matter, but I technically draw Crucible first, I guess. So, like I said, doesn't matter. Leaving up white is definitely just showing that I have Swords to Plowshares. And I'm going to attack for 3. There it is. I guess if I leave up blue, I can Brainstorm and still maybe leave up Swords to Plowshares. Yeah, I should have planned for Brainstorm there. There's a lot of moving parts to Urza Saga. That card is weird and difficult to play with. Right, so they're fetching, probably getting a basic forest. Yep. So they got that set up now. Oh, now they're super set up with all sorts of colors. The Wasteland plan just got worse. Right, there's Uro. I am just going to plow the front half of this before they even get a chance to go a second round. I go back and forth. Aha, that was the right call. I go back and forth on how I feel about plowing the front half of Uro. Like, should I just settle into a infinity game? Or should I maximize my cards now? And it's not always obvious what the answer is. Right, they have 3 cards left over there. Do I think that Force of Will is among them? Let's see. I can just jam this Crucible or I can Brainstorm. I think I'm going to Brainstorm. Just take my time here. Oh, speaking of taking your time. So I'm going to put back... Oh, I could fight over Crucible with the Force of Will right now. No, that's less important than basically everything else that's going on. So I think I want to land Pithing Needle Standstill this turn. The needle is mostly just to grow the constructs. So yeah, I can tuck the Crucible. I want to untap and jam Crucible if my Standstill gets countered. But Shark Typhoon is what I want to draw if Standstill resolves. And I guess if I commit to forcing their force, then Shark Typhoon will be the next card. Alright, so Pithing Needle. I'm going to name Jace the Mind Sculptor, I think. Just make sure that that doesn't happen to me. I do also play one of that card, but I know it's not coming and it's also not important to my plan right now. All right, let's slow it down. I think they have to force this if they have one. They agree. Force pitching Jace. Force pitching Test of Talents. I'm investing 3 cards now to get 3 cards later, basically. And I got 2 cards out of them, so it was a good deal. Here come the jerks. They can trade off with the constructs, but I have Shark Typhoon looming. Oh, do they think they can race me? I'm attacking for 6 a turn. You're on a 4-turn clock. I'm on a 7-turn clock. Interesting. Wow. Do they have their own Shark Typhoon? What's going on right now? Or are they just planning to fearlessly bust the Standstill? Alright, here come the constructs. 6 damage. Okay, they're just popping Standstill with Endurance. Alright. Oh, well, that's pretty good against Crucible, too. Alright, so Endurance comes in. They bomb someone's graveyard. Probably mine. Nobody's. Interesting. And then I can Brazen Borrower, Petty Theft the Endurance to continue my beats. They can't recast it right now. Guess they could have Red Blast. Alright. Nope, just taking the damage. And right now the Crucible is incredibly awkward because I know they have Endurance. Yeah, I think cycling Shark Typhoon or casting Brazen Borrower are things I'm more interested in doing. So they brainstormed and they don't have a fetch land. The time to stop attacking? Nice. So I can fetch and deploy Borrower right now, which is just another body in play. Or I have a better plan. I'm going to draw, and I'm going to cast my Crucible. And even if they respond with Endurance, I have fetch land in play. And this also makes my constructs 4/4s. Ooh, they're just letting me waste them. Or get Urza Saga into play, even better. Count it. Okay, that was pretty good. And I'm just going to pass here. Alright, that was good. Another Coatl. My Shark can trade with one of those. Alright, they're enduring. Treading my graveyard. Probably. Nope. Still just not using Endurance. Interesting. Why aren't they using Endurance? Do they have Surgical Extractions in their deck? Hey, I just am not understanding why they wouldn't be clearing my graveyard. Even in the event of like Crucible is now in play. Like the first one, maybe they leave it there because they want to surgical my sharks or something. But I don't understand why they're not doing it now. I hope I just get to Wasteland lock them out of the game. Which, I mean, is pretty far from happening. But it's closer to happening than is particularly reasonable, given that they literally have graveyard hate. I guess taking them off. I don't really get to take them off much of anything, but green seems like it's important to them. Gonna destroy the Sylvan Library. I think that's gonna do more for me than destroying the Abundant Growth and trying to move on the Wasteland plan. I can Test of Talents if I need to. Just make constructs if I don't. Alright, so now we have Wilt, Hercule's Recall, another Endurance, sure. Decided it's finally time. Okay. They believe me that I have Crucible of Worlds now. Alright, so another one. Then Crucible, or this dies, nothing to search for. It's my main phase already, so immediately get priority to make my land drop. And now I can just settle in. I can cast Test of Talents this turn pretty freely. Yeah, Uro's good. I have Caracas. This is just a card and life point drawing station, but my Urza Saga I think will outpace it. Guess I might as well put Brazen Borrower into play. It is the worst of my flash things I can do right now. And I'll play Scalding Tarn, get set up for the next Brainstorm. Brazen Borrower doesn't have an attack because of Endurance. Gotta manage my clock for the most part. Like, I think I am ahead on this game, but I am 1 minute behind on the clock, and this is only game 2. So, starting the clock considerations portion of the match. Crucible plus Saga is nuts that it pops in the main phase where I immediately have priority to redeploy it. I'm gonna send Uro back. Just don't want to deal with that thing. Stand still, hell yeah. This is nice. Alright. Nothing to search for. Replay it immediately. And blue colorless. Stand still. Still holding up Test of Talents. Someday I'll attack. I'm going to attack when the attack is lethal. And I'm not far away from that. See, I have 5 attackers, they have 4 blockers and 16 life. They're going to have more life now. It's fine. Yeah, my attackers get bigger every turn. Alright, they're just bouncing their own Uro now. It's back again. Just gaining lots of life. I think I have a nice little end-step Brainstorm here. Got a lot of lands I'm not going to need here, because the only land I'm playing the rest of this game is Urza Saga. You got a Brainstorm. That's not what I want to Test of Talents. Right, that was a busy turn. Caught me up on the clock. Let's B-Storm. Get rid of these extra lands. I do like that Force of Will a lot. Fetch before I draw. You get another basic island. Or another Standstill. Yes, please. Urza Saga. Yes, please. Stand still. Take your time. Just gonna Swords to Plowshares a construct. Okay, so they're gonna try to beat me down. Yeah, that's fine. And if I attack right now, they have 4 blockers for my 9/9s. Do they have a lethal attack back? No, definitely not with Shark Typhoon. Yeah, it's time to just bash. So they go to 2 if they lose all their creatures, and they lose if they don't block everything. Wait, what? You can't double block here. No, just literally dead. Okay. They lined up a weird double block instead of staying alive for another turn. Okay, we did it. Game 3. Okay, Urza Saga just did the damn thing in that matchup. I've convinced myself that my graveyard's better than theirs, and the Rest in Peace is coming out. Do I want back to basics? They have some number of basics. I think that Force of Will, just to make sure that what I want to do happens, and just the Narset insurance. Yeah, I think I do want Force of Will, because this is a haymaker matchup around bangers, at least on my side, more than it is a nickel and dime control matchup. So I want the Force. I could bring in the other Plow just to make sure I don't get cheesed out by Endurance, but it's pretty hard to cheese my deck out. No, this looks good to me. Turn 2 Standstill, keep it. So they have a Ponder for me. They did not shuffle their Ponder. I guess I lead on Vista. I don't think they're going to have a 2-mana creature I need to Swords to Plowshares just right now. And I'm totally fine just jamming Standstill. Even if they flash in a Coatl in response, I have the Shark Typhoon to stabilize. If they use Red Blast on this, that's fine. If they force this, that's great. Just give me a Hymn to Turok in this control mirror. Or just Standstill resolves on turn 2 and we get to work. It's going to be hard to get my hand empty. If they just pop this thing, put me up to 10 cards in hand, I am just going to go to discard. So that's a reasonable way to play through Standstill also. But it's also just like a free Cephalid Coliseum. And it gives me 3 hits. Like if they just tap out for Narset to pop this. Oh. Wow. Okay, they tapped out for Back to Basics. I guess that does shut down Urza Saga, or it like slows it down in some kind of way, but not in a way that I'm particularly worried about. And because I just loaded up my hand, I would be pretty happy to engage in a Force of Will fight with this opponent in this spot. I'm going to discard the Plow. I think having double force against this deck while I have Teferi in play is a good place to be. And I'm going to untap and Jace them. Narset. I can Prismatic Ending that. I could also just force it. I could also, yeah, if I force it and jam Jace, I think that's a perfectly reasonable path in this game. They just tap their red source, and I can't imagine they have very many of them. Crucible of Worlds on this board, yup. Alright, Jace, let's do the thing. Found Saga. A Snapcaster and Saga can go back, plus Teferi. I could minus Teferi just to draw a card, but I don't think... Like, I guess they could Prismatic Ending it, but that's not really... I guess I should be considering that, just getting a card out of it where I can. Oh, Brainstorm with Jace again. I'm not going to move in on Saga right away. I just don't think that I have to. I don't think it's important. I think if I spend some time crucibling and accumulating lands that way. Alright, so here is... I can ponder here too. I'll shuffle that. I was looking for another force there. Brainstorm out of them. Carpet of Flowers, that's a good one. I have 2 islands right now. So that's not enough to cast Uro with. They could Sylvan Library. They could also Coatl. Coatl works. I'm going to Prismatic Ending their Carpet of Flowers. And Brainstorm with Jace. Standstill is nice. Alright, so put back land and other land. Is it time for Saga? Yeah, I mean, Saga's not bad here. Oh, put back Retrofitter Foundry, of course. Alright, so Prismatic Ending your Carpet of Flowers. Get rid of it. Play Saga. Play Standstill. Bounce this with Teferi. Yeah, I mean, I should have shuffled. I knew that was there. Whoops. So losing Teferi there kind of sucks. That is my fault for minusing it so aggressively on the previous turn. Another island. 3, sure. There's a Coatl. Seal of Cleansing can blow up Back to Basics if I decide that Urza Saga is a huge part of the plan. I'm going to Brainstorm now because I want this Retrofitter Foundry back in the deck. That is the best thing I can tutor for. And just continue my bounty of riches here, I guess. Alright, put these lands back. Or maybe I'm playing... Yeah, I'm playing the second Saga this turn. Put back Foundry, land, play the second Saga, Seal of Cleansing, and do I deploy the Teferi? Yeah, I think so. Teferi's in play. My clock is in trouble, so I do need to start making constructs and win this game quickly. Got 5 minutes to figure this one out. The second Coatl's in. That's not what I'm really worried about. What am I worried about? Alright, pass the turn. They can put Jace to 1 with an attack here. They can summon Uro. All of these things are not the worst. Yeah, this Back to Basics was weirdly effective against my deck. I guess if Saga is the plan, then that's a reasonable counter plan. I'm going to try not to panic about the clock right now because I am still, I think, pretty firmly winning this game if I don't mess it up. Alright, so cleanse that, which does unlock their Red Blast, but I have Test of Talents now. Make a construct. and tutor up Retrofitter Foundry. Do need an answer to Uro. I guess I can bounce it. Get that out of here. Play a land from my graveyard. It's going to be Urza Saga. Brainstorm with Jace. I could have done all of this a lot better, but I am, in fact, panicking because of the clock. Like I said I would. I promised you. Should have kept Flooded Strand in my hand to discard. I have 10 cards I have to... oh my god. Alright. Brainstorm. Brainstorm. And I think it's just Brainstorm, Brainstorm, Brainstorm. Get put in the graveyard. Should have discarded Flooded Strand, but... freaking out. Freaking out over here. Back to basics. Has returned. This is a Force of Negation. I'm gonna pitch one of my Test of Talents. It's weird to have to force back to basics in this matchup. Prismatic Ending. 1, 2 in response. Make a servo. I'm not going to spend my Flusterstorm on that. I think just making the 1 token here is going to be good enough. They attack Jace to 1 with their Coatls. They have a Ponder. Construct. Construct. Don't need to do this now, but I am doing it anyway. Alright, so I get to search for Pithing Needle, and I'm gonna name Narset. Narset Parter of Veils. This Saga ticks up. Replay this Saga. Plus Jace, target you. No, you can have a Swords of Plowshares. I don't care about that. Here come my monsters. I could have gotten 2 extra damage in by activating Saga now, but that taps out of my counter spells and Shark Typhoons for their turn, which I think are going to be more important because I already have lethal on board. 2.5 minutes is plenty of time to get this done. If I just stay calm, remember to stack my Urza Saga triggers, don't lose any extra time there. Got this. Jace is... well, can't do anything about it, so it's going to have to be fine. I think this Jace is just going to have to bounce constructs, yeah. Right, and then make a construct. I think I just put Snapcaster Mage into play. Feels bad, but I can cast this card. Just need the damage. Pushing for damage. And I could have stacked these so they don't have priority, but I don't think it matters. Attack with all my creatures. I have not done the math here at all. No idea if this is good. So they have 3 blocks. They block the 3 7/7s. They take 3. Ooh, Swords of Plowshares. I will Flusterstorm that. Same targets, same targets. Get them out. Plus target them. We don't want them to have an Uro. I probably should have sent an attacker at Jace. Yep, officially clock panicking. Now they can Uro and get super stable. It's alright. I can still do this. That third Coatl was a huge beating though. They've Uro'd, played their land. I don't think I can do this in 1 minute. Just had a little too much interaction. If Snapcaster Mage attacks Jace last turn, I think I might be okay. I'm just going to activate this now so I can get my F6 value. That opens up Prismatic Ending. It's fine. Still get F6 value out of it. Alright. Nothing to search for. Come on, deck, you know that. Stick to the plan. Attack their Jace. Attack them. Do they have a Coatl also? The 4th Coatl. Is that your last card in hand? Okay, it's Swords of Plowshares. And that still sucks, but okay. I'm going to Force of Will there. I'm not even activating Jace. No time. I'm going to Force of Will Uro. But they can cast it twice. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, maybe I don't Force of Will Uro. Alright, maybe I will Force of Will Uro. Just not doing anything else here. Slow it down. Alright, Uro's in. You get that one. Now I actually have to play in there instead because Prismatic Ending is too bad for me. Test of Talents. They have Endurance in their hand. Make a toot. Make a creature. 12 seconds remain on my clock. It's not enough. Not enough. No, I had a lethal attack for 12. 1 more second on the clock. 5, 10, 1, 2. Oh, they're at 13. All right. Uh, if I so literally that turn where I was like, I'm not going to play around prismatic ending because I want to get F6 value. That prismatic ending cost me the game. Also, just having a few more seconds on my clock, I win that game. If I think about attacking Jace on, so the attack, the turn that they had the third Coatl and were able to stabilize and bounce 3 things with Jace, that was a lethal attack without the Coatl, or at least a dead in 2 despite Jace attack. Yeah, this was 100% clock matchup. Like, my engine is stronger than theirs, which, all right, so let me shake off the stress of having timed out in this matchup. As far as actually playing out this game and what deck lines up versus the other deck, Urza Saga being looped with Crucible of Worlds is more powerful than Uro in this like endgame sort of situation. I actually like how all our cards lined up. I'm still sitting on 2 Shark Typhoons here. They're getting buried by Crucible. They're getting buried by Jace. Like, this is like, I win this game with another minute on the clock, and I win this game in real life. So as far as, testing tuning goes, the blue-white solid land still plan versus the Bant Uro Endurance sort of creaturey plan, I do like how this worked out. So, all right, shake it off. Count that as a win in our hearts, even though it won't show up on the final match score. I'm on the play with one of the weirder hands the deck is capable of. This hand just doesn't do anything. It's as exposed to Wasteland as possible. It casts Force of Will. It doesn't even have a Ponder. No way. All right, here we go. I'm going to keep this and bottom Crucible. Crucible is something I want later, and in opening 7 where I have to send something to the bottom, that's an easy choice. It will end up being matchup dependent, but I do plan on aggressively using Force of Will to get this. Oh, okay, never mind. We're playing against Reanimator, so I will get to put the Standstill into play, but if my opponent has like Grief plus Monster here, we're dead. We're just no play, shipping it. So I can fire off this Brainstorm in the end step, pops the Chancellor Bubble, and lets me cast Standstill. I'm doing that. Okay. That's countered. They're going to go to clean up, discard a Grizzlebrand. I'm going to draw Standstill, or I'm going to draw and then cast Standstill. I have the Force Blue card, but if they have just like Thoughtseize and I don't find a second piece of interaction here, then I could just get Grizzled. There is a Caracas in my main deck. Oh, they're just going for the Reanimate. Love to see it. Wish I could cast this Flusterstorm on Reanimate because you can't fluster some of their other things that they do. So I'm ready for a Reanimate. I am not ready for an Animate Dead. Exhume is fine, Reanimate's fine. I can remove the Grizzlebrand from play with the Swords to Plowshares, but they will gain a bunch of life in the process. Definitely under the gun here with the Dark Ritual. Dark Ritual Exhume. The Dark Ritual is enough Storm that Flusterstorm still hits this thing. Same target, same target. So with the floating black, okay, that'll do. So they have to pay for these, and I can allow the Grizzlebrand, at least get it out of play. Oh, did they just do something wrong? Did they decline to pay? Oh no, they just had another spell. Yeah, that's fine. Alright, Prismatic Ending can exile Animate Dead, so depending on what they do here will inform my play. There's no reason to just plow Grizzlebrand right away. I'll have to do it in response to a discard spell, but if I can get to my Intense up and Prismatic Ending the Animate Dead instead of plowing Grizzlebrand, I'm going to do that. Thoughtseize. Targeting me. Okay, yeah. Plow the Grizzlebrand. Unfortunately, Swords to Plowshares gives them all the life back, so they get to draw 7 again, basically for free. Alright, yep, we're not winning this game. So they get to Thoughtseize, take my ending. They have 14 cards in hand. Presumably those 14 cards can generate another Grizzlebrand. or something more horrifying. Or even two things. It could happen. The small solace here is that my hand is already empty, so any discard spells they drew are not useful. Unless they are discarding their own cards. Which is a perfectly reasonable thing for their deck to do. We know they have at least a Chancellor in hand. We can probably presume the rest of that hand does even more. Ooh. They didn't discard a second Grizzlebrand. They just had two more Chancellors. Or the Chancellor and another one. Chancellor is a card that Swords of Plowshares can just beat. Right, they're thought seizing themselves. What? Oh, they targeted me? Why? You already know my hand is empty. What just happened? Now they can't reanimate their Chancellor because... Oh, no, it's a 7. They can go to 1, but they'd have to fetch to do it. Was that a misclick? Did they mean to cast Reanimate? I don't know what just happened. I'm really confused. Storm is 12. They might be tendrilsing me. They might have just played that for Storm. And this could be the, like, Tin Fin's Storm version of Reanimator. Which is a thing. Wow. I'm getting another turn. Opponent stone bricking on drawing. So they activated Grizzlebrand twice. That's 14. They had a draw step. That's 15. They cast 2 Faithless Lootings. That's 19. So they saw 19 cards that turn and were not able to do anything. All right. I'm going to fetch with my Prismatic Vista. And I guess I want to Brainstorm in case I hit Standstill. So I'm going to put back Ponder and Teferi in that order, just pass with this land in my hand. Teferi can bounce a monster if they reanimate one. They can't cast Reanimate anymore. They have to Animate Dead or Exhume. And they can't gain 7 with Teferi. There's not an Archon of Cruelty in the graveyard. This is weird. Okay, they found an Entomb. They went for Grizzlebrand. That one's fine. It's just a 7/7. In the fate. They cast Reanimate. You're dead. You're at -1. GG. Wow. That I'm not sure what just happened. Okay. On to the sideboard games where I get Containment Priest and Rest in Peace. Let's go. Is this what's going on down in the 1-3 bracket of the leagues? Containment Priest, Rest in Peace. Seal of Cleansing is also good because it answers Animate Dead. Hydroblast has some text on it, but not enough. Like hitting Faithless Looting is non-zero, but it's also not really anything. Replenish, Supreme Verdict, Crucible are all too slow for the matchup. I think Jace is too slow. Prismatic Ending doesn't have any targets. Swords of Plowshare is actually pretty bad compared to something that I can pitch to force. So, like, I just don't want creatures to be in play in the first place. So I don't want to plan for a Swords of Plowshare's world. Pithing Needle can name Grizzlebrand, and Retrofitter Foundry, and hopefully is not going to come up. Or hopefully it does come up. That means I'm winning. Gotta cut one more card, though. I think it's another Plow. So I'm here on... Team, don't let them get anything into play. I'm gonna regret cutting the 2 Plows if they just try to get me with a Chancellor, because Chancellor lines up really poorly against Swords to Plowshares, but Plow lines up really poorly against any other thing they could do. So I'm gonna go with this. This hand has no interaction at all. I'm gonna ship it. This hand has 2 interactive spells and an easy card to put on the bottom with a mulligan. Right, they didn't have a Chancellor. Jace is going to be the first to go. Oh wow, are they on the discard to clean up plan on a mulligan to 6? So just the full time walk? You got it. This is actual time walk, and then they get their backdoor Entomb. And they discarded Reanimate. They don't even have a reanimation spell. What are they doing over there? I'm not going to Brainstorm now because all the plays I'd want to make are on 3 mana. Like, if I need to dig for Flusterstorm or another force somehow, those are all things that I might want to do on their turn. Alright, so do I fight over the ritual or do I fight over the payoff? I'm going to fight over the ritual in this particular case. And I'm going to Force of Will it because I'm 1 mana away from hard casting Force of Negation, which is a perfectly reasonable place to be. All right, now I'm going to brainstorm looking for that hate. Didn't find any of it. So fetch Tundra. And now I'm representing Hardcast. Oh, got there. So now I have Containment Priest with Force of Negation back up. That's pretty good. I think we're just going through the motions at this point. Unmask targeting me. I'll do this. Then they can take my Force, and then they have to deal with Containment Priest in play, and they still don't have a monster in the graveyard or a land or anything going on. I don't want to be disparaging to my opponent. Everybody starts somewhere, but I feel like this is not a deck they play often. Okay, so here we go. I can snap Brainstorm. I made my land drop because if I find one more... Oh, I should have just played Brazen Bar. Okay. Now I can snap Force of Negation. I should have deployed Brazen Bar in the end step. The turn came and went so quick, I just wasn't paying attention. But I'm going to Brazen Bar in the end step now. Just having more damage on the board is a good thing. Looks like they're making a move. I basically don't need to respect anything that doesn't remove Containment Priest from play. That's the entire game right now. They're passing the turn. I'm just going to jam Brazen Borrower in the end step. Here it is. Got to turn off the clock. Saga ticks up. I'm going to continue making land drops. Probably. So I can snap Force of Negation this turn. Alright, I don't care about that because I have Containment Priest in play. They could just like get Faithless Looting and try to dig, but they don't have the mana to even do that. They can do whatever they want here. I kind of hope they just like reanimate Grizzlebrand, go to 2, and Grizzlebrand gets exiled. Based on what I've seen so far, that's on the table. So I'm going to make a construct. I also feel like it's close to 100% that I'm going to get to name Bloodstained Mire with this Pithing Needle. Told you. Bloodstained Mire, that's off. Which I'm pretty sure doesn't matter at all. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Did I have lethal? Yeah, if I just flash in the Snapcaster Mage, I'm over here making tongue-in-cheek criticisms of my opponent's play, and I just miss lethal. So, nobody's perfect. Right, another Entomb. Put more things in the graveyard that can't come out. Another Grizzlebrand. I guess if they have, like, Snuff Out, but they're at 2, so they can't do that. Like, the Pithing Needle turns off Fatal Push. So, like, fetch, Dark Ritual, Fatal Push, Animate Dead does put Grizzlebrand into play, technically. Then I attack for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and even the lifelink isn't enough to save them. Alright, that was a weird match. In retrospect, lessons learned from this league. Number 1, play faster against Bant, because you're going to need every second. But we did beat the one Bant deck we actually had a match against. The other one just ball to Oblivion and didn't really play Magic. But we beat the Bant deck, timed out, but we had them beat. The Urza Saga engine was awesome. I don't know if having access to Saga plus... Like, access to Saga is cool. I don't like that I have to spend deck spots on Pithing Needle and Retrofitter Foundry in order to cash out Chapter 3. And I don't think you can just not have a cash out for Chapter 3. Like, I wish that something like Elixir of Immortality made any sense in my deck, but I actually use my graveyard, so I can't play that. But if I had like a single 1-drop I could search for over and over again, would be pretty cool. But that's just... Is there another card that does that? I don't know. Tell me if you know of one. But I think that's the one, but it just doesn't make sense in the deck. As the Foundry was cool, the Needle was cool. They both came up. They were both fine. I don't think I would want to play any more things than this. Though it does open up sideboard options, like you could play a Soul Guide Lantern or that kind of thing in the sideboard, adjust the graveyard hate a little bit. But what I like about white decks is that they just have these super hateful things like Rest in Peace and Containment Priest. So, I don't know, play with that. Let me know how it goes. 3 felt like a good number of standstill. You really don't need 4 because you don't always want to draw the card and you want to pick your spots and you basically never want to draw 2. Prismatic Ending was great. We hit some high value targets. The splash on Volcanic Island was worth it to get up to 3. We ate a Narset at one point. It could have come up against Uro. We did fall short, just a little short, 2 matches in a row against Delver. And this deck is built with Delver in mind. Like the preponderance of basic lands, the preponderance of 1 mana removal spells, 3 Supreme Verdicts. This deck is made with creature matchups in mind, and if we're losing the creature matchups, we have to reassess somewhere. I'm not sure where that is right now. Like, I guess figuring out what axis we're actually losing those Delver matchups on. Are they overrunning us with 1-drops? In that case, Engineered Explosives is on the table. We're already splashing a 3rd color for Prismatic Ending, so we could just go like the full Converge route here, full Sunburst route. So Explosives does play. I like that card. Are we stabilizing the board but then getting burned out because our counterspells are too hefty and lightning bolts are happening? If so, is there a way for incidental life gain? Should we be playing just like Dovin's Veto in the main? Figuring out exactly how we're losing the Delver matchups will inform what I want to do to fix them. The deck is a little too short as constructed against Delver. That's not a matchup we can lose 2 out of 2 against, even if they're close. We need to be at least splitting the uprights with Delver, with pushing towards favorable. And Ragavan changes a lot of the math. Need to respect a haste creature at any point in the game, which is not something that Delver has had in a long time. And they just have so many 1-drops that we need to interact low on the curve. But the Prismatic Endings do a lot of work there. I would start with Engineered Explosives in the deck, probably over Replenish. Like, this is just greedy and unnecessary. It's fun, it's splashy, but the deck doesn't need it. Replace Replenish with Engineered Explosives. I'll just start doing this while I'm talking. I think another counterspell in the 75, like another hard counter, would be good. I don't know if we need 2 Null Rods in the current metagame. I guess Artifact Aggro is a deck that has shown up a bit lately, so it's kind of good there. Though it's fallen off because that deck actually isn't that good, but it was just pretty cool and full of Modern Horizons 2 cards during the first week. Do we need 2 Null Rods and 2 Deafening Silences? That's a lot of hate for Storm. Do we need 2 Back to Basics? Because, like, Cloud Post is the answer to a Bant metagame. So, and I hate losing to decks like Cloud Post and Eldrazi, so I'm going to keep the Back to Basics, though you can make that call in your metagame if you really need 2 of them, if you really need any of them, honestly. And yeah, find rooms for a Dovin's Veto somewhere. Maybe you don't need 3 Supreme Verdicts main with the 4 Plows, and maybe that should just be Veto. Alright, this is what I'm thinking after 1 league with this new build. Those changes should shore up the 2 angles of the Delver matchup where we're losing, which is the flood of 1-drops versus getting burned out at the top end. So I like where this is right now. This is where I would continue working on it. If you're working on this deck, please let me know. Maybe message me in the Patreon Discord. Check out the Patreon links below, and we can talk about it. But here it is. This is my current Sharkstill work in progress as of Modern Horizons 2. Thanks for watching, Jeremy. Thank you for asking me to do this. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe for the channel while you're here, and I'll see you next time.